What's up, everybody? I am Bradley Schneller, owner, CEO of Stacked Coaching. I have with us one of our former members and coaches and developer of our awesome brand, Michael Moreau. Michael, what's up, man?
Are you, Bradley?
All right, Michael, why are we here today? What are we going to be talking about?
We're here to talk about some endurance sport and how we're going to get there, how we're going to train for it, how we're going to prepare for it, not only from a strength perspective, but from a mental perspective, and outline some really um, outlandish and ambitious goals for this year.
All right, before we jump into it, let's get stacked. Man, I could watch that like 10 times
That's
over.
awesome. That's awesome. It gets me excited.
Yeah, it gets
I'm
me
ready.
excited. All right, Michael, what is it you're doing? Let's tell everybody.
Well, I mean, let me kind of start from the beginning. My background is in competitive swimming, and I swam for the better part of half of my life. And I feel like, as most swimmers and amateur athletes often do, you get burnt out. And I burnt out on swimming in my early 20s, and I hung up my goggles figuratively, and I figured that was it. I was going to move on to
I
new
don't know if it's
challenges.
figuratively. I think you actually hung them up. Like
I
they
actually hung them up.
yeah, you actually hung them up. Literally.
But I think when you invest your life to that degree in sport and it becomes a part of your identity, you never truly give it up completely. So even though I turned my attention to other endeavors, I was a CrossFitter for quite some time, and I've always been one to never back down to a challenge. I was recently in Hawaii and walking along the beach, and I was on the Lanikai beach on the windward side, the eastern side of Oahu, and I saw these two islands off the coast. And I thought to myself, I bet I can swim to them without doing any research or understanding of what the distance was. And granted, I had not put any training in, any time into the pool whatsoever, but
Michael, did I talk to you before you did it or after?
I think you talked to me after.
Okay, because I thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
All right. All right, go ahead.
It's also one of these things I didn't want to tell people I was going to do before, for fear that I might not do it.
Or die while doing it.
But it was one of these things I was just determined to do. Fast forward to, I completed the swim, albeit very slowly. But I realized, and after the fact, I did a little research and I realized it was around about 2 miles round trip to the island.
Did you see any sea life?
I did. I saw a couple of sea turtles and I saw a monk seal on the island when I got to the island, which was kind of cool. But I thought to myself, if I can swim 2 miles round trip in the open ocean without any training, what can I do if I really put my mind and body to it? So, and I've kind of gotten really invested and done a lot of research around the open water swimming community and understanding what other people have set their sights on, what accomplishments, what challenges, events, races, or even out there to accomplish. And it's a very wide and very well documented sport these days. I feel like that's probably only been the case maybe the past 10 years or so. But again, in doing a lot of research and deep dives into what's possible and thinking about, if I'm going to set my sights on a goal, it's got to be a massive goal. So I have decided that this October, I will be swimming the Molokai Channel, which is the deep ocean body of water that separates Molokai Island from Oahu Island. It's just about 26 miles. Again, in the open ocean, I will be dealing with very unpredictable tidal
You said
currents.
26 miles, right?
26 miles.
So basically a marathon. You're swimming a marathon.
It's so in the world of running, 26 miles is considered a marathon. In the world of swimming, anything over 10 miles is considered a marathon. So this
So
is
you're swimming
essentially
a double
this is
marathon,
called an ultra marathon.
ultra marathon.
Yes, yes.
Shit, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So, look, I want to back it up. We kind of talked about you being competitive, right? I feel like there's more, and you and I have talked, so this is a leading question, but there's more uh, to how you got to this point, right? So, you were in New Orleans, okay? Back in you're in New York right now. You were in New Orleans, and your fitness was at an all-time high over the last 15, 20 years, you would say, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, you did nutrition with Stack Coaching. You coached fitness for Stack Coaching. You were shredded. You were like 44-year-old walking around, 44-year-old shredded fitness model, basically, right? Let's say.
Yep, thanks to the programming
So,
and coaching. Yep,
so you moved to New York for a job,
yep,
um, and kind of tell me how about that was. You had a tough time finding a gym, right?
I
And your
did.
fitness kind of took a dip.
I did, and yeah, I've been an avid proponent and uh, CrossFit um, uh, advocate, I guess, for the past maybe 13 plus-ish years. And although I originally looked for a gym up here, I wasn't really finding anything that had met my high standards, at least the standards that have been set for me at previous boxes like Stacked. So I think, as is kind of my nature, I went to sort of seeking out other areas of opportunity, other challenges. Where can I really invest myself, and what's really going to drive me? What's going to motivate me? I spent a lot of time thinking because I was doing my own thing for a while. I had joined a gym, a more traditional powerlifting gym, and I was doing my own thing. And I spent a lot of time looking around the room in between sets and just looking and seeing what was motivating people. And again, there were a lot of people at this particular gym who were physique models or again in powerlifting competitions, and they were constantly training for something. And I started thinking to myself, what are you training for? Aside
Yeah.
from the aesthetic benefit of looking good and the physical well-being benefit of feeling good, what are you training for? Where are you putting all of this time and energy, and what is it ultimately, what do you have to show for it? And I started thinking back again about my earlier days, that all of the training was put forth towards meets and competition and setting new personal PRs, hopefully setting new records. And I started thinking, what now as an adult, no longer involved in amateur competition, what could I set my sights on that is really going to motivate and drive me? And when I found this, it was like an aha moment.
Yeah.
On a certain level, I wish I had found it years ago, because I feel like obviously the older you get, the more difficult it becomes to train yourself to that level of perfection. But as prepared as I feel like I would have been years ago from a physical and strength perspective, I'm not sure if I would have had the mental fortitude and determination that it takes to do this today. So
Wow.
I feel like it's coming at the right time.
Yeah, I feel like endurance athletes tend to be better the older they get because it's up here, right? Especially in something like this. It's interesting. A couple of weeks ago, or last week actually, I did a short 5-minute video because we had a member write in and say, "What do you do to pass the time when you lack motivation in the gym?" And so it's interesting these two things came by, and you were lacking motivation, um, and this has lit a fire under your butt to get back into training as a whole. And it's just interesting. Like I really feel like if we can find new things to sign up for and train for, and I even said in the video, like we don't even have to. This is different for you, but for some of us, we don't even have to complete them. The
Right.
act of training towards that thing can help lift us up. and motivate us in a tough time. So, since you decided I'm going to do this, how has your training been?
Well, I know you're constantly preaching about consistency, right? And this is
Uh,
one of those things where you cannot drop the ball when it comes to consistency. Um, I am working my way towards building up my weekly distances to a place where um, I need to be, and I need to feel comfortable in order to know that I'm going to be able to tackle not only this distance, but all of the difficulties and challenges that the actual channel itself is going to throw at me. Um, but it's incremental. I'm at the point when I first started back in the water after 20 plus years of not training in a pool at all. I was training 3-ish days a week
mhm.
with a very short amount of yardage. I think my first few sessions in the pool were maybe about 2,000, 2,500 yards a session. I'm now training at a minimum 6,000 yards per training session, and I'm in the water 8 days a week.
6,000 yards
I,
is
not
roughly
8 sessions a week over the course of the week.
6,000 yards is how many miles?
Uh,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
it's
try to math
roughly
somewhere
I want to it's
somewhere
roughly
between 3
4.
and 4.
Yeah,
Mhm,
about 4. Yeah.
yeah. But the the goal is, and a lot of open water swimmers will ascribe to this methodology. There isn't necessarily a hard and fast, like you must do this in order to achieve. But most open water swimmers will try to accumulate the amount of yardage in 1 week that is equal to the distance that they're trying to swim. So, for example, Molokai Channel is roundabout. I think it's about 45K. My weekly total should be at, if not above, and I'm
Above.
shooting to continue to increase 45,000 yards per week.
Wow, that's intense. Now, I want to let everyone know this is not going to be the last to see of Michael. We are actually going to chronicle his journey all the way till the swim. Um, all things work out. Maybe I'll be in Hawaii with him. We'll see. Okay, when he goes to do it. All
I'd
right.
love my own stacked cheering squad. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
So, but we want to bring you his training to you in a however many parts series. We're going to make this a series of videos so you guys can follow along and see how Michael does, and see if he gets eaten by a shark or finishes the swim. So, I'm
Let's hook the latter of the two.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. Actually, Michael will be wearing shark repellent swim shorts, so we're good to go there.
I'm not sure we have that technology yet, but there are sonar
I thought you told me that.
devices that I can wear.
Yeah, I thought you
That'll
I thought you
hopefully
literally told me you were gonna be wearing shark repellent. Were you lying about that?
a device, but not shorts.
Okay, okay. I was like, all right. So let's get into the training a little bit. Okay. You and I talked about strengthening your shoulders because you're gonna
Yep.
your legs should be plenty strong enough. Okay. We
Yeah,
talked about
I
your
mean, the funny thing
nutrition.
about as important it is to have extremely not only a good core, but good posterior chain, and
Yeah.
uh, swimming.
Well, you're gonna be in that prone position constantly.
The vast majority of swimming is upward body dependent. So
Mhm.
making sure that I am bulletproofing my shoulders, they're able to sustain the load that they're going to be enduring over that period of time. That's critical.
Yeah. So again, recap. How many days a week are you in the pool?
7 days a week now.
7 days a week.
I started out around 3 days a week, and now I'm in every day.
How often are you in the gym strength training?
This is something that I do need to increase over time. Right now, I'm at 2. I do need to get up to at least 3.
Yeah, I would definitely want you to see your, hitting that upper body at least 3 times a week, and core is going to be important as well. We kind of talked about that. So the goal will be 3 times a week to complement your 7 days a week swimming. That should be good. Okay. Nutrition wise, can you kind of give everybody an idea of how much you're eating right now to
Well, for starters, I'm always
support
hungry.
you? You're always
I
hungry.
am always hungry. I'm in the position, and I haven't experienced this since I was a teenager, where I am actually, as a result of the volume that I'm training on a daily and weekly basis, I am consuming less than I'm expending in terms of energy. So I have been losing weight. I've been shedding a
Constantly.
lot. I think from the latter, maybe from mid-December to now, I've lost about somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds unintentionally, just as a result of the training. So I have increased my carbohydrate intake drastically.
How many carbohydrates are you eating right now?
Currently, I'm at 360 grams a day,
Okay, awesome.
and I'm still
Were
hungry.
your fats at 60 or 70?
What's that?
Your fats at 60 or 70?
Fats are at 65, and my proteins are at 200.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And we actually did talk about stair stepping that up as you go through this process. And we will be keeping a close eye on your macros because we don't want you to lose too much weight. We need to keep
Yep.
the muscle mass on. And the interesting thing is we have to balance your weight and mass because we don't really want to mess with your buoyancy.
Right.
Right. I imagine if you get
Well,
too muscular and that could mess with that a little bit when you're swimming, correct?
right. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you
One
look
of
at
the things
Olympic
that
swimmers, they're not that jacked,
yeah, it depends. It definitely depends. And, obviously there's a lot, genetics comes into huge play,
right?
but it definitely varies. And it also varies depending on the type of swimmer. The more sprint to mid distance swimmers, they will appear more cut
Yeah.
than the longer distance swimmers. And with open water swimmers, it's very common for open water swimmers to not appear cut at all, mainly because a lot of these channel swims, the Hawaii one is a little bit of an exception, but a lot of these channel swims are in extremely
Oh,
cold water.
yeah.
So if you don't have a certain percentage of body fat on your body, you will develop hyperthermia. You will not be able
Now,
to
let's
swim.
talk about that, because one of the rules is you are not allowed to wear a wetsuit, right?
You are not. It has to be a traditional bathing suit above the knee for men, and for women, the shoulders cannot be covered.
Why is
Um,
that?
well, I think it's just about creating a set standard. You don't necessarily want any unfair advantages, especially with the amount of time
Like
that
if
you're
someone's
having to
wearing
spend
like a
in
more
water.
technologically advanced wetsuit or something like that, right?
Or even something as simple as warmth, body
Yeah.
warmth, right?
Yeah.
Um, everything is monitored, everything is documented. I For the Molokai Channel swim, I'm hiring a boat crew, and I will have to have everything detailed, almost down to the minute, and documented, in order for it to be in consideration as a successful swim. There's maybe about a page long document that outlines all of the rules and guidelines that have to be abided by. And the main ones are: you have to enter and exit the water completely unassisted. And during the duration of the swim, which is a continuous swim, meaning it's nonstop, you're not allowed to stop and pause at any point or hold on to an object. You are not allowed to touch anything, and nothing is allowed to touch you. Obviously, barring aquatic life, which is outside of your control.
But
But
they can throw you food.
yes, any food or drink can be thrown out to me and would be tethered back to the boat or the kayak.
Now, lay this out for everybody. I think the scariest part of this entire swim is you're going to be starting at night.
Typically the swims do start at night. Just because of the tidal flows are more conducive at that time of day. So what I'm hearing is it would probably be around 11 p.m. or midnight start, swimming through the night, and then into the majority of the next day.
That's freaky deaky, man.
I mean, this is going to be one of these things because this is new to me as well. It's going to be one of these things where I feel like, psychologically,
Yeah, do you have any
you have
fear?
to understand that you're in good hands. Oh, 100%. But, I also have to have trust in the crew that's with me. I know that they have my best interests at heart. I know that their number one priority is safety. Um,
Are they gonna be looking out for sea life, or, like, how does that
to a certain degree.
what are the
Yeah.
precautions taken in terms of sea life?
I really think the only precaution is really the shark deterrent. Um, Everything else will just be a contender. I do know that Portuguese man of war are a very much a possibility, if not a inevitable. So we'll see how that goes. I've heard their stings are pretty
Deadly?
powerful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess are they different in, like, October versus other parts of the year? I mean, it could be.
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I'm hoping it's better.
Yeah. Alright. Alright. And then you said less than 100 people have done this, right?
I think just over 100.
Just over 100.
Just over 100 people have successfully completed the swim.
And
It's
to
been recognized by the channel body and WOWSA, which is the World Open Water Swimming Association.
and to give everybody an idea of, like, a reference point, okay? How is that compared to the amount of people that have summited Mount Everest?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's been just over 6,000 or it's somewhere in the 6,000 range who have successfully summited Everest. And then the Molokai Channel, we're looking at maybe 105.
All right. So since 1953, there have been 11,996 summits of Everest by 6,664 people.
Okay.
There you go. Let's see how many people have swam the Molokai Channel. Just over 100 times
Successfully.
successfully. The 100th person was actually on June 3rd of 2023. So there you go. This is harder. Way to choose a fitness point here, man.
Well, I guess question mark around harder or, less. I think the
Skill level's
level of
higher.
preparation and the level of people who even feel like this is something that they see fit to follow through is probably, the percentage on that is obviously a lot less.
Yeah. All right. So as we go through your training, okay, what should people be expecting, looking for as we document this entire thing?
Um, I mean, hopefully a lot of progress.
Yeah.
I do know that, and I'm sure everybody has experienced their own, um, understanding of how progress works. That it's not necessarily linear. We have advancements and we make certain strides, and then we have setbacks. So I think I'm going into it with the understanding that I'm working with the body that I have today at the age that I am today. But I'm also being cognizant of not pushing myself too hard. And that is something that I need to constantly be mindful of because I do have very ambitious goals and I'm very hard on myself. But I also want to make sure that I'm setting my body and my mind up in the best possible position to be successful. And the
So
last thing that I want is to incur an injury or have some sort of setback that is going to stunt my training.
interestingly enough, you said, I don't want to push my body past what it's capable of, like, right now, right?
Right now.
Uh,
Right now.
so, did you look at, all right, this is what it's going to take by the week or 2 weeks before the swim, and then work yourself backwards in terms of a swim plan?
Yeah, a bit, but mostly in terms of the yardage. I've also been trying to incorporate different styles of swimming, either for distance or for intensity, into my workouts to mix things up. It's very important to make sure that I'm going to be able to handle the distance, but it's also important to understand that, again, during the course of the swim, I'm going to be thrown a number of different hurdles. There might be certain instances where the current changes and I have to swim extra hard, extra fast for
Yeah.
an unforeseen amount of time. So I need to make sure that I'm going to be prepared to do that. And even more so prepared to do that when I might be really, really tired.
Yeah. How important is it that you stick to your plan every week and not try to do more than what maybe the plan dictates for that week?
Yeah, I just again, I try to outline all of my workouts. I outline, what my yardage looks like, and I just try to stick to that. Even if I'm feeling really, really good in the water, I'll say to myself, you need to maintain. There's going to come a time where you're going to want to get out.
Yeah.
That 2-3 hours is going to feel like a walk in the park, and you're going to want to stay in the water for longer than that. But I think again, as is going to be very important during the event itself, pacing is of the utmost importance. As a former distance swimmer, when I was an age group athlete, you need to understand how to go out, how to pace yourself, how to be comfortable at each particular stage of the swim, how to utilize your coach, which in this case is either going to be on the kayak or on the boat, to understand how you're tracking against your goals and whether you need to speed it up or slow it down. Right. This is going to be a test of will, a test of the will of my body and a test of the will of my mind.
I love it, man. All right. Look, in our next video, we're going to outline the mindset that it's going to take in order to accomplish this. Okay. And we're going to get deep down into that and how you tackle those challenges psychologically each time you get in the water. Do you have your page up yet? It's going to be theislandofmoreau.com, right?
Yes, it will
Yep.
be.
We'll put that in the comments, and you can follow along at Stack Coaching on our YouTube channel to see the entire series with Michael as we chronicle his training to do something that just over 100 people have done in the history of time. Okay, swim the Molokai Channel, 26 miles. I'm super pumped for you, Michael. Let's get stacked.
Sounds good.